Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad that you're with us today to stay curious. Today, we're curious about a couple birthdays that happened on February 23rd, and this happens to be 2024. We got two really good astronauts that are celebrating their birthday today. One's a Medicare senior citizen. Um, and we're going to talk about a little known program that the last mission was in 1963 on this date, February 23rd, a very important asset, it was called. And that is an asset. Asset is an acronym for something I have to look at to tell you what exactly it means, but it is all about lifting bodies. And without this important program that had some quick missions up to space and back, suborbital, the lifting body program for things like the proposed dinosaur and eventually the shuttle. This is the bedrock for those programs of their reentry systems. And we've got a couple astronauts that we're going to celebrate here on February Black History Month, all for you to stay curious today. And as I'm looking at the beautiful Earth, our blue marble there that Marty's put up there. Hi, Marty, my co-producer. This is episode 997 by my ciphering, Marty. And whew, what a long, strange trip it's been. How are you today? I was trying to pull you in there.
It didn't work too well.
Yeah, okay.
I'm doing good, Mark.
Yeah, well, glad to have you, Marty. He's the big brother I never had, and I've had a cold all week, and I told him this when we met earlier today. I said, I don't know what we were going to talk about. Let's just turn it on and thank everybody for watching, because we're sincerely mean that. But, of course, up in the cloud, I've got 4 years of programming almost, and so there's a great program today to share with you all today, and I'm excited about it. But we got to remind you all, so because we're looking at the Earth, Odysseus, or Odie, the first vehicle to safely land on the moon by an American company in 52 years, has apparently landed, is communicating with the Earth, I think. But Marty, I've not seen any pictures yet. So if some of you've got some update of what's going on, I've tried to Google a little bit. Marty's got go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, the only thing I can find right now, there's going to be a news conference at 5 p.m. today.
And I would guess that's Central Time, because I got fooled by that on the landing.
No,
when they were,
Eastern Time.
and it says Eastern Time. Okay, well, after Stay Curious, we'll find out an update of what the condition of Odie is on the southern pole. It was exciting to watch last night. We actually had a group of stargazers out in our backyard, so to speak, in the back parking lot, and watched it. So, but that's to remind you of what our front parking lot looks like at our entrance there here at the American Space Museum. We are a proud nonprofit, a legal 501c3 charity in the state of Tennessee, or the state of Virginia, state of Florida. I told you I have a cold. I lived in Virginia and Tennessee. Yes, sir. But I'm happy to be in Florida. Look at our beautiful models out front there. American flag. We are the American Space Museum. So that's our entrance. And boy, were we busy today. We can always use your tax-deductible donations, of course. Go to our website, and there's a place for that up there. But people around our museum, there's QR codes where you can contribute $10, $20, $200 if you want. And we had some wonderful guests in today. Place has been packed all week, frankly. Spring break has hit already around here. But we had there on the left is Ron Franco of Niagara Falls, and on the right is Greg Godges of Cincinnati. They're buddies. And I immediately said to Greg there, hey, you've got Chris Callie's shirt on. Can I take a picture of you and send it to Chris? And Ron there on the left says, I already did. And I go, what? You know Chris Callie? He says, yeah. And so I hope you're watching there, Chris Callie from Connecticut. There's your buddy Ron Franco and his buddy Greg wearing his iconic T-shirt there of Ed White's Spacewalk on Gemini 4. And glad to have them in our museum. And he had to watch Stay Curious to buy that, Marty, because we did a fundraising with that. Callie T-shirts, that one of Chris's and two of his dad's. Yeah, we got a comment, Marty?
Yeah. We have a comment from Dave Stange. He says, I think Marty has spoken in around 432 of the shows.
Oh, okay. He's making a joke that you've spoken on about half the
Thanks,
shows.
Dave.
Who was saying that?
Dave Stange.
Dave Stange. Well, Dave, it's a miracle to me too, because Marty says, nope, I'm not going to get on camera. I'm not going to talk. And but he has contributed mightily and done a great program on the lunar module by himself. And but I respect people like Marty that aren't extroverts like me, and some of us other people out there. But it takes all kinds to make this beautiful world go round. It's behind me here. But yes, complimenting Marty today about how he's reading your comments and how it really helps me connect with you and make our program more personal and flow even better, as we know that you're interested in what we're talking about. Here's a great pair. Here's a great pair that we had in today. I hit the wrong button there, Marty. We had in here also Ron Woods on the left there, and that is his friend Matt Turner, another space artist. Matt is from Germany. He was here with his wife. He's here for a week vacation, so he's going to get up with the patch guy, Tim Gagnon, on Monday. And there, Ron is showing him some of his art. Ron was a suit tech in the Apollo and then shuttle era, putting astronauts in spacesuits, and has made beautiful watercolors and other medium of the hats, helmets, the suits, and so forth. Ronnie, we appreciate you coming into the museum and turning us to your friend Matt Turner, who does artwork like this. Of course, I saw a lunar module that Marty worked on as a Grumman electrical engineer, and I said, you got to hold that up and get a picture of that there. And so he's got a very good Matt Turner. He's got a nice style. Matt Turner artist. Just do Matt Turner artist, and you can see this gentleman's work of art. We're always happy to promote the A in STEAM art. And there's Ronnie Woods and Matt Turner there in our conference room there. Well, so we always love y'all showing up. Come to our museum, bridge the gap between us, bridge the space between us, and we'll put you on our Stay Curious show in one form or another. Well, we've got a couple astronaut birthdays that we're going to share. And this birthday is Clayton Anderson. Has new meaning to those Medicare ads that here in Florida we see about every 3 commercials is a Medicare supplement ad. He turned 65 today, born in Omaha, Nebraska. All right. He's the only astronaut from Omaha. The only astronaut from Nebraska, Marty. So we talked about this beforehand. There are 3 states that don't have astronauts. And what 3 are they? Let's see who gets them there. And we'll give you a good prize of an attaboy. All right. So if you know the 3 states that have never had an astronaut of America's 50 states, chime in there, and we'll give you the answer here in a minute. Anderson's 167 days in space on 2 missions include 5 months on Expedition 15. Early days, early third of what we've done now, they're up to Expedition 70. And there he is, breaking the speed limit at 17,501 miles an hour as he's pushing himself through the one of the International Space Station entrances there. And there he is with his family. I love that picture. This is picture day. And our African-American friend, Sharon McDougall, Caples, was in on this as the suit tech at Houston. You're going to see pictures of her there. But the Nebraska Cornhuskers is his football allegiance, of course. Widely reported that he was rejected 14 times by NASA before being accepted in 1998. He was a professor at the Iowa State University in Ames in there. So a good guy. STS-131 was his other shuttle mission. He went up on Crew 15 or Expedition 15 on STS-117. 6 spacewalks for 38 hours. And he wrote a book in 2015, The Ordinary Spaceman, From Boyhood Dreams to Astronaut. So anybody have an answer to what 3 states have never had an astronaut flown in space? Because Clayton Anderson is the only one from Nebraska. Anybody say anything, Marty?
Not yet.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it to the second astronaut here because there's Clayton signing his book there as he would appear today with his patches on his arm there. If I'd look at my cue. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show him up in space there. Nicole Stott says that all the astronauts do this, that you got to get a selfie of you in a clear bubble of water up there as it refracts like a lens, like we were looking at Jupiter through last night, upside down, and things are left to right. So happy birthday to you, Clayton Anderson. You're going to enjoy your senior life, I'm sure. And between living in Iowa and coming from Nebraska, we'd love to see you here on the Space Coast do an autograph session. We'll also celebrate the birthday of Canada's first astronaut, Marc Garneau. Joseph Jean-Pierre Marc Garneau was born February 23rd, 1949 in Quebec City, Quebec, Canada, as they say it up there. 75 years old today. 41G was his first flight in 1984, and he was also on 77 and 97 for a total of 29 days in space. So that's some experienced space time. And then he got into politics, and he became the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Canada, and served as a cabinet minister from 2015 to 2021. A Liberal Party member, whatever that means in Canada, was like I said, he was the Foreign Affairs Minister, so that's pretty important. So our Canadian astronauts, some were chosen in classes of the astronauts, I believe he was, and he's a maritime command captain up there in Canada. So happy birthday to Marc Garneau up there. So the answers to what 3 states do not ever have an astronaut? Marty?
Mark Usiak thinks Alaska.
Alaska. Your thumb's broke? I figured you'd be Googling it, Mark, in there. What Mark Stingy hasn't or Dave Stingy hasn't Googled it? Nope. Vermont. All right. Maple syrup world of Vermont. Wyoming and Nevada are the 3 states that have never put an astronaut in space from America. So we hope that gets solved right away. It's just according to the luck of the draw in some ways there. Well, we want to talk a little bit of space history here because I'm curious about how our shuttle space plane and all of these there's some new planes that are space planes, the testing of the reentry systems and the materials that they use. And we had a wonderful question and answer yesterday with Terry White, the shuttle chief of the shuttle garages. He ran the pit crews that fixed up the shuttles between flights and got them ready for their next payloads and so forth in the orbital processing facilities. And of course, those were 30,000 tiles on the belly of a shuttle. And this all started with this little spacecraft here that was barely 6 feet tall, called the Aerothermodynamic Elastic Structural Systems Environmental Capsule. And these asset tests were done on a reentry vehicle with different types of materials all over it. It was shaped like a conical sphere with a delta wing, intended to represent the dinosaur, SOAR, shape on its nose section, where the most heat would be put on. We're told on the shuttle the most heat's right at the tip of the nose there as it comes in. Asset vehicles were used in reentry heating and structural investigations from 1960 to 1963. 1965 actually. When they were developed, flown 6 missions from September 63 to February 23rd, 1965. That's why we're talking about it. This was the date for the last asset rocket launch, and they put this little winged vehicle with all kinds of alloys. They even tried things like balsa wood. Wood might be on some area in there, see how things burn out of a section. But this was really part of what was the X-20, or the dinosaur program, that was canceled in December of '63 after these tests. America was building, and the vision was to build a space fighter plane like your Star Wars fighter starships, okay? A 1 or 2 man vehicle that could be used for military purposes. From this developed the space shuttle. Built by McDonnell, of course, that built the Mercury and Gemini spacecraft. The suborbital path was launched by a Thor missile off Pad 17B. We got some good pictures here of the technicians showing you this. All right. They really put inventive type of alloys on there. The vehicle weighed about half a ton, 1,200 pounds, and 70-degree sweep on the back wings there. It was to provide quick data cheaply to accelerate the development of the X-20 space plane, which was a concept. This is one of those deals is like, what if this had happened? What if we'd really built this space plane? Well, here is, I'm going to show you a picture of that space plane here in a minute by the Air Force. There it is on top of the Thor missile. How cool is that? No capsule around it, okay. It was just an open air deal. You can see some people on the left, Marty, there. Standing on the base there. I think they can see that without you pointing it out there, and the capsule on the top. Of the 6 missions, 3 of them, they hadn't planned to recover them. But other 3 they were, and they only did recover 1, and that was Asset 3. The last one launched today in space history in 1965. Survived re-entry, the flotation equipment malfunctioned, and it sank to the ocean. I've always wondered if it'd be worth bringing it up from the ocean, like we have the Mercury capsule. It's in that kind of water out there in the North Atlantic. But that's the Thor asset combination on Pad 17B, and then there is the one that they got back recovered. And here is the space plane. That is what the dinosaur looked like. Capitalizing on the world's craze for dinosaurs that were just being discovered, and we were understanding what these creatures were millions of years ago that roamed the earth. But this was a little space plane that the military certainly had in mind to protect us from our adversaries. And we'd love the Sands Museum out there. Our friend Jamie Draper doing an excellent job as director of all the museums out there at the Cape Canaveral Space Force. This is the McDonald version of it. You just see it's very small. That's where they have it right there by the gift shop, in fact, the gift shop door there. But it was sitting outside, Marty. I never saw it outside like that. They brought it in 2005, but I see that there's a snark, an orange snark there in the back behind the trees there, palm trees. But it was stood outside there, and then they brought it in and restored it. And if you're local and haven't been to Sands Space Museum, shame on you. It's free, right out there by the Disney ship ports at Port Canaveral. And there it is when they had it outside as a static display. They took down some of those static displays because of the maintenance of the harsh sea air as well, and then occasionally the hurricanes that would break them down. So Marty, what are these things used for today? There's another asset concept that had spy cameras in it. This was an idea to use this whole space plane concept for our spy versus spy doings. Here you see technicians putting it through tests and being put up in the fairing. This one looks like it was a different type of space plane. But again, you get the idea of the technology in the early 60s spawning how the shuttle in this dramatic rendering entered the Earth exactly like this asset spacecraft did. And it worked. It didn't tumble. It didn't disorient itself. It leveled out in the suborbital flight, and they knew the path came down. A comment, Marty?
Yeah, we have two comments. I'll read the second one first. It's from Steve J. Not a snark, it's a Navajo.
Okay. All right. He's Steve's saying that the picture back here that I misidentified is the Navajo. Okay, the Never Go Navajo. Yes, you're right. That is the Navajo. They have it up there, and they called it the Never Go Navajo. And then it was the snark-infested waters because that's where these rockets mostly ended up there. Thank you, Steve. He's probably got a model of that on his shelf up there in Lake County Spaceport off the shores of Michigan. And another comment?
You have a comment from Carlton Bailey. What would a weekend on the Space Coast be without a launch? February 24th, Falcon 9, Starlink, 6:39 launch time, approximately 4:59 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Launch site, Slick 40, landing at sea.
All right.
Catch all that?
He's just we have another launch tomorrow. What time?
5:40
In the morning or p.m.?
p.m. 5:59.
Oh, good. All right. CB, thank you. Yes, what would the spaceport be without a launch? And CB, have you seen any pictures from the moon yet? I guess they're going to release them at a press conference there. So hopefully they're going to blow our minds, but hopefully it's not to say like we've got an anomaly like JAXA did, and it's on its side or something like that.
Yeah, I think I gave you the wrong time, Mark. I think he's saying it's 6:39. It looks like he's also saying there's a window 5:59 to 5. I'm sorry, 5. Dang, I can't talk either. 4:59 to 9:30 p.m.
All right. But we'll be there whether we want to or not. All you have to do is just walk outside your backyard, even if you're in Orlando, 50 miles away from us here. Thank you for chiming in there, CB, as we're wrapping up here our little book report, so to speak, on the asset program. Again, I love saying that acronym, the Aerothermodynamics Elastic Structural System Environmental Test is what that is right there. The asset. And McDonald, the great space company that built the Gemini and Mercury models, and Rockwell built the shuttle there. But that's the whole concept of this. And it's the same concept that this is the latest concept, the Dream Chaser by Sierra, the company Sierra. The Dream Chaser is getting ready to be a cargo ship. And it looks exactly like Asset, doesn't it there? Very few variations of it. It actually looks like the fighter jet there, too, or the space plane dinosaur. And then what other aerodynamic re-entry delta wing space plane can you think of that's still it's very active right now? And, of course, that's the top secret X-37B space plane of the Air Force that's now orbiting the Earth right now, and China has a knockoff version of this also orbiting the Earth. So here in 2020s, what was happening 60 years ago, all right, laid the groundwork for this type of vehicle to be quick and easy access to space and safely bring back payloads. And it all started with this little guy on top of that Thor rocket there. So now you know. Well, let's celebrate a little bit of Black history to end our week here. February is traditionally Black History Month. We love talking about all of our astronauts. So that's why we celebrate their birthdays. They're always in our communities doing great things. None maybe setting a better example than the Black African American astronauts that have gone to space. I count 17. Maybe 18 have gone to space. We have Jeanette Epps, who will be the next African American to go to space on Crew 8. But you can't forget Michael Strahan, the football player? He's credited with going to space on that Blue Origin flight where he went up on the anniversary date of Laurel Shepard's dad, and she went with Michael Strahan up to space. So I think that's kind of cool. Football player, many of y'all know him on Good Morning America as one of the hosts on that. But we're going to talk a minute about Robert Stature, Robert Stature's got 11 days in space. He grew up in Denmark, South Carolina, but he's born in Hampton, Virginia. And Denmark, South Carolina is not that far away from Hampton. But he's got a bachelor of, he is the first orthopedic surgeon to go to space. And that's what he does now, is he's with the University of Texas Department of Orthopedic Oncology. So he deals with bone cancer. What a great guy. He's got 15 peer-reviewed publications. But he had 2 spacewalks on STS-129, his only mission. He certainly would have gone into the International Space Station expeditions had the program not ended. He was just the 6th, the last flight in space. And Robert Stature is also involved with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And he's created an outreach program with the Albert Schweitzer Foundation, going to Nicaragua, Venezuela, Nigeria, Gambia, and doing medicine there. But there he is in space. There he is spacewalking there. I believe at that one time he was the last African American in space until Victor Glover went up on the first Crew Dragon mission up there. And there he is spacewalking. So kudos to you for all that you do there in Robert Stature. Now, one of our hidden figures, modern day hidden figure, she calls herself, is Sharon Caples McDougal here. And we featured Sharon before. That's her little book back there called Dress for Launch with Shay. And Karan was a suit tech at Houston and fit the astronauts in their spacesuits. And she was a seamstress, too. Had to have a sewing kit and fitting things in there. So we love giving you a shout out, Sharon. She watches Stay Curious. She's in Moss Point, Mississippi, is where she was born. Of course, she lives in Houston. Her husband is one of the scuba divers in the neutral buoyancy lab there. And we can't wait to get her on face to face. We've done a show or two with her on Google Meets, but she's had the honor of putting in their new space uniforms. And then, of course, those are shipped to Kennedy Space Center to be put on when they go to spaceship. But Guy Bluford there, the first African American in space, and there's Sharon with him. So we're going to end our program today talking about Guy. Guy is, let's see, he's 82 years old now, I believe. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was the first 3 African American astronauts chosen. There, left to right, is Ron McNair, and on his other side is Fred Gregory. And I'm going to tell you what Guy Bluford said in Oprah magazine, a quote to end our little talk about him there. Let's see, 4 missions. People forget that he had 3 other missions after this, and that is a lot. 28 days in space. He was on STS-8 was his first mission. Let's see, we're going to go that way. There he is. Now, how many of you know what that is, what he's testing out? Marty, you know what that is that he's inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a rescue pod, folks. They actually thought that this would be a way to rescue astronauts. Example, if we could get a shuttle up to Columbia, knowing it was damaged, we would put them in this pod that was and had a handle on it and just kind of toss them over to the other space shuttle. All right. And they had a breathing apparatus in there. How claustrophobic is that? Okay. Man, that would drive me nuts. But they had to try to test this thing out. So there's Guy Bluford in that. There he is in space. Penn State graduate. a Nittany Lion. I'm proud of that. And he's got a master's degree in business. And he went to the Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania. A lot of astronauts go to a business college school to get an extra degree because they want to monetize their fame and what they've done, and rightfully so. So they want to learn how to get in the business sector, and that's what he's definitely done. He was on that German D1 mission. I find it interesting, the first German mission he was involved on there. And then STS-39. His final mission was 53. I believe that was a DOD mission with Bob Cabana as the commander there. So you can't talk about that much. He was an Air Force colonel, is Guy Bluford. And he was one of several astronauts that was recruited by NASA by Nichelle Nichols, all right? And she played Lieutenant Uhuru on Star Trek, an African-American herself. So she really approached, used that. The Star Trek people actually lobbied to get the Enterprise named that, the approach and landing test shuttle, and that's now on the carrier in New York City Harbor. But that's interesting that she actually lobbied for that. And here's what I want to read about this great man, of what he said. Here he is at Penn State in front of one of the tributes to him a couple years ago. Oprah magazine. Oprah asked him, what were some of the challenges you faced being the first African American man to fly in space? And Guy Bluford said, quote, when I came into the program, there were 6 women in our class. You had me, Ron McNair, and Fred Gregory, and 3 African Americans, and 1 Asian American, Alice Onizuka. So we recognized that we were breaking the mold with reference to astronauts who were primarily male and white. We knew that one of us would eventually get selected, the first woman, first African American. Alice Onizuka didn't have any competition for the first Asian American. I didn't anticipate being selected, Guy said. I was happy to learn that in 1982 I would fly as part of STS-8, and it just so happened to be a historic mission in reference to being the first African American to fly in space. I feel honored to be in that role. Once I got down, I wanted to fly a second time, which I did in 1985, and then we had the Challenger accident in 1986, and we lost Ron McNair and the company. I wanted to stay around, and I flew a third and fourth time, and he's one of the few that did stay around and didn't go do something else in that 2.5-year downtime. And Guy Bluford goes on to conclude, one of the things that I really wanted to do was not only to break the mold, but to help pull other African Americans into the program and get them to fly. I feel honored with reference to not only leading the charge, but helping a bunch of other African Americans who came behind me. I take a great deal of pride in that, as well as he should. And we're happy to salute you, Guy Bluford, 82 years old and looking strong there. Another astronaut we'd love to meet out there. We've met Fred Gregory, Marty, and Fred Gregory's quite an engaging talk all of its own. In fact, he doesn't talk much about his experience in space as he does experience of being part of the universe and that we must explore. So we hope that you've all enjoyed Stay Curious today, putting down episode 997. Next week we'll be on our roll to celebrating Thursday on Leap Day, our 1000th episode. I've got a great guest in line, Clay Walker, on Monday. He worked out at the Slick 6, the Vandenberg Launch Control Slick 6 that the shuttle was going to be launched off of. They built a whole complex to put the shuttle out there and never did it. And I saw some pictures I've never seen before. We're going to share them with you. And then we're going to, Tuesday, we have, who have I got on Tuesday? I don't have a show on Tuesday. I got a guest on Wednesday. And Thursday, we're going to celebrate our 1000th episode. So my throat's getting sore and I got my sinuses clogging up, but I'll get better over the weekend, all right, and relax. But hope that you all enjoy a great weekend. We can't thank you enough, Marty and I, and our executive director, Karan Conklin, for taking your time to watch Stay Curious and support our museum financially. It is a tax-deductible donation. Here's our beautiful entrance, waving the American flag to let you know that we are proud of what we do here, and that is preserve the birth of the American space age in its delivery room, Brevard County, Florida. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying that I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.